Dave Burkett here, live Radio Row, Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans with, you may remember him, former Lions defensive end Michael Brockers. Michael, how you been?
Man, I've been good. I've been good. I hope everybody remember me.
They should. They
hope I made a good at first impression.
You helped the Lions get to this point that they're at now, 15-win
my
team.
Spirit is trickling still in the building, and they're still winning. So that's all I hope for.
It's a big, you obviously played a long time in the NFL, and I think, most NFL fans would associate you with the Rams. But as you look back on your Lions years and as you watch the team now, what sort of emotions stir inside of you thinking of, how far this team has come?
Man, I'm proud, man. Proud. These guys that I'm watching now were rookies, first year, second year guys, with the wide eye look because we're 3-13 and, middle of the second season, we come to a conclusion like, hey, everybody needs to buy in, even me, there was a point where I was somewhat checked out and, I had one of the players, check us in the meeting, and I think that honestly was a turning point of the Lions, because everybody was bought in. Everybody knew it was bigger than ourselves. The team was bigger than ourselves. So, not playing and still going out there practicing, giving it my all, because I believe more in the team than my own selfish situation. I think that was a turning point to making the Detroit Lions.
And I get that because you were a vet. You had experienced a lot of winning. Like they brought you in, not just for your play, but also for the leadership role of it. And I imagine that's hard when you first come into a situation where the wins aren't there. Can you tell me that story? Who was it and what did they say exactly that sort of got you in the right space?
Man, it's crazy. So this story is middle of the second season. We are probably 4 and something. I don't know. We're pretty bad. Maybe we were 0-8 or 0-6 or something.
1-7-1, sir. 1-6.
1-6, and we in the D-line room, and I call together a, just defensive, meeting, just with the players, and just kind of come to heart, like what's going on, what are we needing, what needs to change, and I get up and I start talking, and one of the guys, I think it was CJ, what was his last name? CJ
Gardner Johnson?
No, it was Anders, something like that. CJ, we call him CJ, and he know who he is, and I look at him like a little brother, because it was somebody I connected with, on the team, push and did little things like that. So, we're in the meeting, I'm talking, and he was like, "Man, Brock, to be honest with you, I feel like you checked out a little bit, and in all honesty, I did check out a little bit because I felt like my situation, I made my situation bigger than the team at that point, and he brought me down to reality to say, man, you checked out. We're looking up to you. How can you sit up here and say, for us to give everything we have and you are? And that was a humbling realization of like, people are watching you even if you don't realize, So I had to put my big boy pants on and understand that whatever situation I'm in, these guys don't have anything to do with it. They deserve 115% of me if I say I'm a part of this team. So I gave them everything I had after that.
That's a great story, not only from, that whole relationship standpoint, but maybe also what it means that, players are willing to do that with this regime. You know what I mean? That everyone sort of had a voice and like, hey, you can do it, but I can do it to you too. I don't know. Maybe it starts from Dan Campbell, from the coaches that you had in that allow players to have that sort of voice and leadership role.
And I appreciate it because like I say, it did change us. We ended up, turning that season around. We were a game above 500 that year. So, it changed the aspect of that team.
Came so close to making the playoffs. Obviously beat Green Bay at the end. You played for, I guess, not directly. Kelvin Shepard was a linebackers coach at the time. He's going to take over as Lions defensive coordinator right now.
Yes, that was my former tearmate. At LSU.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's right. LSU.
Yes, he played Mike linebacker, and I looked up to him. He was our leader of our defense in 2011. So seeing him now get this opportunity, man, I'm proud. I'm proud of him because I know how much he put into being a coach. That comes straight off of playing. Nobody has expectations of him doing well. Everybody expects him to not do well.
Yeah. What did he have personality-wise, leadership-wise, some of those traits that even if he didn't know he would be a coach way back then that maybe stood out to that this doesn't surprise you now?
His knack for leadership. When he talks, everybody listens. What while I was at Detroit, you know, the how driven he was to make sure his guys were on top of it. You know, when you look at that linebacker room in Detroit, and you look at how the linebackers play, they're flying around because Kelvin Shepard is, you know, expecting them to fly around, you know, and he's pumping them up to make them feel like they have to make all the plays. And I remember having a coach like that on defensive line, Coach Henney. He made us feel like we can make all the plays, you know, and I feel like that juice gives his players a little bit more energy to go out there and play the way they play.
A respected guy in the organization. I mean, I know the Lions had sort of looked at him a long time as maybe a future defensive coordinator, and talking to Steve Spagnuolo earlier this week, he said he thinks he's going to be a future head coach. So obviously I think people think they got a good one in him. Do you have a favorite, before we move on, do you have a favorite Kelvin Shepard memory story, either from LSU or your time in Detroit?
Man, you know, he was just so intense, you know, while we were at LSU, man. And I felt it, you know, you can feel the intensity in somebody's eyes, you know, when they talking to you. And, you know, I just want to run through a wall for him. So, you know, if he can give that same intensity to his guys, you know, that plays room, man, you can expect
even as a teammate, huh?
Even as a teammate.
That's great. All right, a few more minutes with Michael Brockers here. He's got the Brockcast. Make sure you tune into that. He's got the Brock brand clothing. You see that right here on the chest. He's got a cigar lounge in Houston. Go check that out if you ever make it down to Texas. A whole bunch of business interests these days.
Entrepreneur, that's what I call it.
That's right. We'll get into some of that here in a sec. Two other Lions questions for you. New coordinator Shep was there, so it's not a huge change, but new one on offense too. And that's, look, you went through it in LA where the Rams were losing coaches, and yet you were able to maintain some of the competitiveness. What are the pitfalls that the Lions have to avoid next year with new coordinators, and how big of a change is that for a team?
I mean, it's going to be a big change. Let's not make it lighter than what it is. You know, they are losing a big part of their offense. You know, when you have the guy who's calling the plays leave your team, even though they were expecting him, they probably wanted him to get a head coaching job, but you have to have somebody behind him knowing everything that he was doing, knowing why it was being done, understanding all this plays, just because you have the same guys. So you don't want to run the same thing, but you want to run similar to what y'all been doing for the last couple of years. So, you know, getting Amon-Ra the ball, you know, getting it in his hand. Now you have Gibbs and you have David Montgomery. So you have a lot of guys who want touches. So you have to then, now it's okay, how many touches does this guy get? How many, you know, and I don't think the Lions have a team where you have to worry about stats, but as a coach, you have all these phenomenal weapons. You want to get them the ball, you know, so I know that's going to be a struggle for a first-year OC.
Well, even, you know, defensively, too, like, how long does it take to get used to that new system before everything sort of gels to that point where it feels like, hey, we've been doing this for a while and it's level 201 or 301 instead of 101?
Right. I mean, I think they got the coach. They got the right coaches and coaching staff to get it done.
Do you remember at all the new offensive coordinator, John Morton? I know it was on the opposite side of the ball, but he was in Detroit when you were there. Do you have any recollections of what he?
No, not really.
Okay, fair enough. It is. I mean, the Lions have a lot of change this offseason. 8 new assistants already. So again, you went through it in LA. Big news this week: Myles Garrett. We saw him down here on Radio Row for a minute, requesting a trade. I know Lions fans are all in my emails saying, "What can we do to get him? How I can make this happen?" Would you sign off on a move like that if you were in charge? How would you feel about, you know, it's at the one hand, again, you lived it with LA and Les Snead, F them picks, right? He went about trading for vets, put him over the top.
Right.
On the other, you know, the Lions have built this a certain way, and Myles is 30 years old. So I don't know. How would you feel about the Lions making that move?
I'm with I want somebody that's proven now rather than have to wait, you know, and hope that this guy turns out the way I wanted him. You know, if you got a guy who's won Defensive Player of the Year, go out there and get him. You know, if you feel like he's going to impact your team in a phenomenal way, go out there and get him. If you feel like you can, you know, I'd rather definitely have somebody that's already proven in this league than go look for a rookie that I have to develop. And this is no shot at rookies. I'm just saying somebody already proven or somebody not proven yet.
And Myles is about as proven as they come. Reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Just as you watch him, tell me how good he is. What sort of player would any team be getting at this stage of his career?
Oh man, you dominance, man. He doesn't take, you know, losing. You know, he doesn't lose. You know, he wants to win. He's getting after it. He's used to getting double teamed. So obviously he can get through that and still make plays. So you don't hear anything about him off the field, no off the field issues. So you don't have to worry about that. Somebody that's going to be dedicated to the team. So, man, you're getting a phenomenal professional as well. So let's be real. I think he'll be a phenomenal pick for the Lions to get if they wanted to go do that.
Excellent player, probably a future Hall of Famer. So I think any team would be happy to have him on the roster. All right, let's get back to you. The serial entrepreneurship that you're doing right now. First of all, tell people about the broadcast, where they can find it, and how'd you get started doing some of this stuff?
Man, my publicist, one of my best friends, just getting me out of my comfortability. I love just not being in the mainstream and in the limelight. I'm okay just, doing my thing and staying out the way. And, I have people that are behind me that really want me to see me do more. They want to see me do more. So, started the broadcast. I didn't want to work for ESPN. I didn't want to work for none of these big networks. I want to kind of give my own stories, my own perspective. So, started the broadcast because I felt like it's some stuff that people need to hear, my story that they need to hear.
Keep it real, right?
My side of the story. So, I love it. I love having my own platform. I can say what I want to say. None of the stories are, going to be skewed or anything. But for me, having your own platform where you can have people listen and, root you on, I think that's awesome.
How about the cigar bar? Because when I was in Houston this year for the Lions game, man, Lions fans are all over the place. Yes. But Houston was as nuts, filled with Lions fans as any road venue I've been to. And I know some of them were out of town, but hey, that's home for a lot of people. So where can they find that? And why'd you get into that side of the business?
Man, so I didn't know. Let's be honest with you, kids. Find out what you're getting yourself into. I got into a restaurant and lounge because I felt like I was a little fearful. I didn't want to leave the league and not have anything to fall back on. But I don't think that's the way you should go about it. Definitely research, do your things like that. Do your due diligence. But for me, I wanted to have something to fall back on. The restaurant was something that was brought to me. We're in a good spot. We're in Houston, right off Alameda, down the street from, old Turkey Leg Hut, if my Houstonians know where that is. But mainstream Houston, we're on the, almost like the Black Wall Street of Houston. We're doing well. We're doing well. Everything isn't perfect. Everything isn't, suns and daisies, but, I do have a business that I can call mine. And, I'm learning as I go. I don't have all the answers, but I'm learning and I'm willing to learn. I think that's the biggest part.
All right. So next time I'm in Houston for a Lions game, I'm going to stop in and check it out.
Have to.
Let's end it with this Super Bowl 59, Eagles, Chiefs, heck of a game. We saw this matchup a couple years ago. One of the great quarterbacks of all time, probably in Patrick Mahomes. One of the great running backs, maybe in all time, in Saquon Barkley. Who do you got and why this week?
I have the Kansas City Chiefs with a small edge over Philly this year, only because of Patrick Mahomes, the experience that team has. And, they have a lot of players on their team. They have a lot of guys on their offense, on their defense that have been here. So if anything, I think the experience edge takes it over for Kansas City for me. But I have no dog in this fight. I just really want a good game. But I think if anybody I would bet on would probably be Kansas City.
Couldn't agree more. Just because Patrick Mahomes, it's tough to pick against him in games like this. He just seems to win and win and win, and that's what you got to do as a quarterback in the NFL.
Get it done.
That's it. He's Michael Brockers, former Detroit Lions, serial entrepreneur now. I'm Dave Burkett. Free Press, Radio Row, Super Bowl 59. Thanks for joining me, Brian.
I appreciate you.